Is it good morning? Okay, thank you. First, I have to convey my greetings from Uganda and Kenya. Before I left for Germany, my team in Uganda told me if I come here, I should convey their greetings to you. Two, when I was in Kenya, coming to Nairobi, I had also another team that I work with. They said if I reach in Germany, I have to say hi to them all. Their motto is one: united, we meet our objective. Divided, we fail to meet our objective. I'm proud to stand before you today because I want to be counted as part of men who have made history in German Cologne. I'm here today because I want to be counted as a man who stands on the side of truth, like you who are here today. I'm here to speak and to say that I'm proud to join you as men and women who are on the right history of the science. As the other speakers have said, narrated, they have aired a lot. Indeed, there is no scientific evidence whatsoever that proves circumcision reduces or it ends AIDS. No. I know many people have read theories in those scientific papers, but I believe they are not proven concepts and theories, but they are based on personal interests of certain groups who are doing business in HIV industry to maintain, to keep AIDS in Africa, to maintain their status quo, and to maintain their big salaries and their products, drugs, and etc. to African people. Indeed, if it were that male circumcision that's being pushed in Africa by the Western companies, groups, and ABCD, I'm deeply convinced that HIV, at this time as I'm speaking, it couldn't be living in America, no. Because in America, circumcision is higher than in Africa, where it has been pushed in. Yet, millions of American men and women are living with HIV. I believe so. And I also concur by others that even in America, thousands of people that are actually on ARVs. And yet maybe there are men, their boyfriends, who are circumcised. I'm here to add my voice, addition to your voices, so that the world may hear the hidden truths and lies, rumors that have labeled and preached to we Africans concerning male circumcision. Today is an important day in my history, because most of these faces I'm seeing around here, we have been meeting some through media, Facebook, and other channels, commenting, talking about this issue of male circumcision as a preventive measure that has been initiated in African continent, but not any other continent in the whole world. I do want Africans alone, African skin can only be prevented against HIV through circumcision, but not any other skin. That remains a very big question. I and you, we ought to ask, then actually we know what is wrong with that. I'll be speaking sometimes, I'll be quoting some of my writings, of which I had prepared to come and share with you. As they say, sharing notes, we may get a solution to what is disturbing us. Plain speaking, the Rakaya district in Uganda was the first district in African continent to be, as a pilot project, to circumcise communities that did not circumcise their men in the fight against HIV. For the last 15 years, since circumcision was initiated in Rakai district, thousands of men, children, and all people have been circumcised. But if you read the report from that district, it's quite shocking. The very, very people who are cheated, recruited in the first project, that you are dying because you are not circumcised. If you get circumcised, you'll never die of AIDS. Today, they are dying of AIDS. Today, they are on ARV drugs. Thousands of young men, the future of the nation, that are HIV positive, simply because of male circumcision policy. If it were so, I come from a community that circumcised men. Traditionally, you face really knife, too painful. My people have died of AIDS. My family members have died of AIDS, and yet they were all circumcised. My mom comes from a community that is the most feared community, I believe, in Africa, on the side of circumcision. My uncles have died of AIDS, and thousands are living with HIV. If it was circumcision is a solution to HIV in Africa, then I believe my community and my uncle's community, sure there could be no AIDS. But we live with the AIDS. So why should people come and cheat us? That's funding money, a lot of money, that let us go and cut Africans to end HIV. It's very wrong. Cheating, fake news, and fake research. Today, program that WHO and other bodies, through our African governments, because of our weakness, maybe because of our poverty, through the means of health, implementation of V.M.C. in Africa, it was to target the active people who are at high risk of HIV through sexual activities. These people themselves have feared to go for circumcision because they are seeing people who are cut, they are dying of AIDS. So they'll now shift attention to small children in schools who are being taken from schools without the consent of their parents. And they're being cut with the aim that we are doing this to reduce or to end AIDS in African community. Very wrong. There's a sentence here I want to quote, which says this. If I say that circumcision is not scientifically proven theory, but a customer of those who will do whatever it takes to scare and spread lies that circumcision prevents disease among children, and that it prevents HIV among mature youth and men, what is happening in Africa is quite shocking, with the number of individuals and institutions using radical methods of fearing, mongering, and misinformation to convert people to go for circumcision with the belief that circumcision is a vaccine to HIV and other infections. Circumcision is a blood business of circumcising defenseless infants and children worldwide. Its promoters don't agree with anyone who questions their business besides those who promote their agenda. They believe that HIV infects mainly uncircumcised populations. Yet millions of circumcised men die of AIDS. It is sad at some time. They use lies and fear-mongering tactics to convince uncircumcised communities that they are dying of AIDS because they're not circumcised. In Uganda and Kenya, promoters of V.M.C. blame absolutely everything on uncircumcised population as carriers of HIV and infectors of HIV to other communities in the region. How hypocrites and blind are VM agents. How many millions of circumcised men are dying of AIDS? What is happening in Uganda and Kenya because of lies and forced circumcision against boy child is shameful. Those promoting V.M.C. in Africa are committing crimes against humanity, as millions of children are the target of the V.M.C. program. More orphan children are forced to get circumcised. They strongly believe that circumcised boys or men cannot get infected, spreading more HIV among orphan boys than before. There's fear that as long as the V.M.C. is pushed and funded by Western powers to spread HIV infections, it could trigger a pandemic that could kill millions of African children and men in a few years to come. I end my speech by saying that those supporting child circumcision, they act out of complete self-interest and total disregard for human life. The crimes committed against children and infants will be felt in a generation to come. African already weakened by HIV and poverty, those pushing V.M.C. have bled to new depths. Circumcision has brought a lot of sufferings, death, pains, and AIDS in African societies. Many African societies have suffered their rights violated, abused, discriminated, and forced to accept circumcision against their will in the name of kicking HIV out of Africa. I believe this conference and you, great men and women, will give strong voice to the world and demand banning of male circumcision of children, as this practice infringes on child's rights of choice to genital mutilation. In Africa, we demand for better health care, accessibility of ARVs, money for HIV, cure research, and protection of all people against forced circumcision. In my summary, V.M.M. is a failed project to prevent HIV. In that, I demand total banning of circumcision in Africa. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you.